Good evening, Norcal Karters. This is Jason, and it's Tuesday, March 2nd. And there's a lot more, there's a lot of events going on right now. And I'm going to change up my format a little bit tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the calendar. So that way you can get your dates, your clubs, your series that you're participating in. You can get those dates, jot them down, or maybe it's just a reminder for you. It'd probably take me about 10 minutes to get through there. Then I'm going to kind of circle back and start rambling. So, all the good content will be at the beginning, and all the rambling will be at the end. And so sometimes I get sidetracked. You know, this past weekend, I was down at Fontana for the Challenge of America's event. So I am going to have definitely some personal point of views and opinions and kind of a recap from my perspective on that event. But again, that'll be more towards the end of the podcast. So let's get to it. And for those that are listening live, you can go to Spreaker.com. You could go to NorcalKarters.com, click on the podcast link. If you're on Facebook and you click on the promo that just pops up on the Norcal Karters page, you can click on that. And we're live. You can chat live with us, and you can text or chat in the comment section. If you have some opinions, things you want to talk about, if you want to call in, we can make all that happen. So just bear with me. If you're going to call in, give me a moment, because I can accept call-ins, but there's going to be a little bit of a delay. So with that being said, let's get to this. And bear with me for 1 second as I do a quick post. And our podcast can be found at norcalkarters.com. Click on the podcast link, or norcalkarters.com/podcasts. You can also go to Spreaker, SPREAKER.com. Type in Norcal Karters. If you subscribe or like our podcast, you'll be notified when I go live. You'll be notified when I do uploads for podcasts that are not live. And again, there's always Facebook, the Facebook Norcal Karters page. And as soon as I go live, then it automatically posts to Facebook as well. So there's 3 different channels for you to quickly access our podcast. And in the past, a few of you have mentioned that the podcast just stops. So if you're listening in the app and you have an iPhone, a lot of times you have to go into your permission settings, and you need to allow the Spreaker app or whatever podcast player you're using to run in the background. That way when your screen blacks out, it will keep playing. So there's something to mess with there. And let's get to it. And I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to go down the list of events that are currently on the calendar. Then I'm going to go down the list of events that are not yet on the calendar, but they will be by next week's podcast. I found 3 more clubs that have events posting. So again, there's going to be a lot of racing action to talk about, which is great. You didn't lose me. I'm still here. So today, March 2nd, this coming weekend, Prairie City is the 4-stroke weekend. So that's going to be Prairie City 4 strokes, race number 2. And they also have the 80 cc's this weekend. So Prairie City 4-stroke weekend. Go to pckarting.com. If you're wondering why I mention certain websites and not others, perfect example. Prairie City is a sponsor. So I'm going to mention their website. I'm going to push you to their site so you can get the information. So this weekend, Saturday, March 6th, Sunday, March 7th, is race number 2. But it's their 4-stroke weekend. So for more information, go to pckarting.com. And they will outline their different classes for each race weekends versus 4-stroke versus 2-stroke. And I know what some of you guys are saying. 80cc shifter, well, that's a 2-stroke class. And you're absolutely correct. It is. But they're putting the 80s on the 4-stroke weekend, and the 125 shifters run on the 2-stroke weekend. So don't argue about it. That's just how it is. So if you have an 80, be out there this weekend. Prairie City Karting. Monday, March 8th. NCK Road Racers, Thunder Hill East. And that's a fun track. You're going to have a lot of fun there. So again, that's March 8th, Thunder Hill East. And I've heard a number of drivers from some SoCal, possibly even Oregon or Washington, are coming down for that event. So again, March 8th, Thunder Hill East. And that is a Monday. And in many of my other previous podcasts, I've mentioned why they've raced on Mondays. It just comes down to track fees. Road racing is a very expensive track rental fee. Very, very expensive. So to keep the costs a little bit lower for the racer, they do Mondays, they do Fridays. They try to fill in on the cheaper days to help keep your racing costs lower. So don't forget, March 8th is Monday. NCKRoadRacing.com. Click on their link. You can register. You can see their full schedule. And again, NCKRoadRacing.com. Thank you, NCK. You're also a sponsor. We appreciate it. And rolling into next weekend, March 13th and 14th is Prairie City two-stroke weekend. So the two-stroke weekend is the two-stroke classes plus the 125 shifters. And we have actually two special classes. My buddy Henry Adamus is organizing the 125 shifter crowd, very similar to what the Norcal 80 group is doing. So Henry's doing the same thing. And so Henry's group is going to be out there for the 125 weekend. But also the 80cc Shifter Championship group, they will be at Prairie City on that same weekend. So they pull in, their membership list is over 80 strong. So they'll probably pull 15 or 20 80 entries for Prairie City. So that should be exciting. And actually, while I say that, give me one moment. Sometimes I ramble. No, I always ramble. But let me make sure I didn't have a typo for the 80 guys, because I understand that I just said 80s are on one weekend, the 125s are another. And sometimes when I say it out loud, then it's like, oh, wait. Let me check into that. So give me one quick second here. Okay. Yeah, the official press release from the 80 NorCal guys. Prairie City, reverse modified perimeter on March 14th. So we have that right. So sorry for the delay. Let's get back to our racing events. And if you hear a lot of clicking, it's because I have about 900 windows open right now. And my ADD kicks in, so when the butterfly flies by, and it's like, oh, butterfly, let's talk about that. It has pretty wings. So, March 13th and 14th, Prairie City, two-stroke weekends with the 125s, and the NorCal 80cc Shifter Championship. That's a tongue twister. NorCal 80cc Shifter Championship. That is also going to be at Prairie City, so they're combining it with their club race. Great idea. Kind of consolidate the infrastructure, the admin, the planning. Work together, people. Makes it better for the whole sport. And then we have the following week, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, which is a Wednesday. Then we have Rok Sonoma, race number 1, Rok Sonoma. That kicks off March 20th and 21st, and that should be a great event. The Challenge Karting event down in Fontana this past weekend, I'll get into that, had record numbers. They were over 140 entries for their series. The racing action was terrific, and the momentum for Rok is growing really well, so that should definitely help the Sonoma crew. And then GFC Karting. Why am I mentioning GFC Karting? He's a sponsor of Norcal Karters, as is Challenge of the Americas, as is Rok Sonoma. So if I give these people extra attention, please understand they sent me a check. So GFC Karting will be supporting customers at Rok Sonoma for their first round on March 20th and 21st. And for information on Gary's program, you can go to gfckarting.com. And for information on Rok Sonoma, you can go to sanzarukarting.com. And that is Sanzaru, SANZARU, karting with a K.com. And the reason it is sanzarukarting.com instead of like Rok Sonoma or anything else is Sanzaru Games is the headlining sponsor for the Rok Sonoma series. So that is why that is the website. So again, March 20th and the 21st. Also on March 21st is a BlueMax Kart Club. So that'll be a Sunday. BlueMax Kart Club kicks off their season. And then Challenge of the Americas. Round 3 wraps up at Sonoma. So it's going to be very busy at Sonoma for the next couple of weeks. And Challenge of the Americas, which is challengekarting.com, wraps up their winter series at Sonoma on March 26th, 27th, and 28th. And guess what? Local shop, Gary Carlton, will also be there. So the guy is just flat out. So he will be there. And it's pretty encouraging how many guys he's going to have out there. And again, I'll get into that later. I was actually under the GFC tent in Fontana. And so I have some insights from that event based on that perspective. If you're curious, stay tuned. If you're not, you can just click end as soon as I'm done with my race events. And March 28th is the NorCal 80cc Shifter Fun Day. I'm not saying to those guys. I'm saying because I can't speak because I'm not really good at this stuff. But I'm just doing it. So Sunday, March 28th. It's a fun day. The NorCal 80cc Shifter Fun Day at the Shasta Kart Club. So last week, I did not have the NorCal 80 guys on my calendar. I just didn't have time to do it before heading to Fontana. So they are live on the calendar now. By next week, I should have 4 more clubs and promoters on the calendar. And the calendar's growing. March is looking great. I'm also going to circle back and do a couple of clubs that are not on. So just bear with me for 5 or 6 more minutes. Let's wrap up with April. April 4th, Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday, April 4th. And let's see. April 10th and 11th. You're going to hear about this event a lot starting now until the week before. NCK Road Racing, Speed Vegas. So that is the Speed Vegas is the track you pass if you're on the 15 heading northbound. It's on the south side of Las Vegas. They're the ones that rent the supercars out. And last year, NCK was the first sanctioning body to show up to Speed Vegas and put on an event. And it went so well that Speed Vegas invited them back. So again, NCKRoadRacing.com. And there's going to be a lot of information on that. I'm looking for sponsors for these guys for this event. It's going to be a very, very expensive event for NCK to host. They're really putting their necks out there. But by all accounts, people love the track. It was smooth. It was fast. It was very similar to a Streets of Willow type facility. So it was kind of a hybrid between sprint and road racing. And again, that's taking place on April 10th and the 11th in Las Vegas at the Speed Vegas facility. They have host hotels. Hell, show up a day early and go rent one of the cars and say, I drove a Ferrari, or I drove a Porsche, or I drove a Lamborghini. I think that would just be a kick in the shorts just to get on a real racetrack with a supercar instead of just kind of cruising around and, a parking lot with cones. I think it'd be very cool to be on a racetrack. So again, that's going to be April 10th and the 11th. So go to nckroadracing.com for all the information. Their race schedule is up. Their practice schedule is up. The list of classes is up. So go check that out. Also, that same weekend is going to be the KPX event. Then the following weekend, we have April 17th and the 18th. GFC Karting is going to be right back at Rok Sonoma. And that's again April 17th and 18th. That same weekend, Prairie City is doing their 4-stroke race weekend, race number 3. And I just mentioned Rok Sonoma because Gary Carlton's going to be there. Rok Sonoma, race number 2, April 17th and 18th. And I'm blasting through these pretty quick because this is going to be my new format. I'm going to highlight the sponsors like I just did. But you can also go to norcalkarters.com. Click on the calendar link. And when you go on our calendar, you can click on any of these events and we will give you information. So, for example, NCK Road Racing on April 10th and the 11th. The very first thing in the description field is location. Speed Vegas, exotic car, off-road, and trucks. So, the next information, NCK Road Racing, click on that. It takes you right to the NCK Road Racing page. So, if I'm going through these too quick, remember, Norcal Karters, where all of this stuff is hosted. Click on the calendar, click on the event. It takes you right to all of the sponsors' websites. So, we have GFC Karting, we have Prairie City, 4-stroke weekend, and we have Rok Sonoma, all happening on April 17th and 18th. And another website sponsor, Northern Nevada Kart Club. They are kicking off their 2021 race season on the 18th of April. So it's nnkcreno.com. They have one of the nicer websites out there in karting as far as easy information, easy to navigate. Again, nnkcreno.com. Their first race of the season is April 18th. And this is going to wrap it up for my new format. Again, I blasted through the events. Let's give you a quick rundown. This weekend, Prairie City. Monday, March 8th, NCK Road Racing at Thunder Hill. Next weekend, the 13th and the 14th, Prairie City. Along with the Norcal 80cc Shifter Championship group and the 125 guys. And then we have Rok Sonoma, March 20th and 21st. Again, Rok Sonoma, March 20th and 21st. Then we have GFC at Rok Sonoma. Then Sunday, March 21st, BlueMax Kart Club. The following week, series finale for Challenge of the Americas, round number 3 at Sonoma. And guess who's going to be there? That's right, GFC, Gary Carlton. And then we have the Norcal 80cc Shifter Fun Day on March 28th at Shasta Kart Club. And then in April, we have KPX, April 10th and the 11th. And like I just mentioned, we have NCK Road Racing that same weekend, 10th and the 11th at Speed Vegas. Again, for more information on Speed Vegas and NCK Road Racing, nckroadracing.com. And the following weekend, GFC Karting will be at Sonoma on March 17th and 18th for the Sonoma Rock Cup event. And that same weekend is Prairie City, the 4-stroke weekend, race number 3. So that's going to be April 17th and 18th. And Northern Nevada Kart Club, race number 1, is taking place on April 18th. So those are the races on the calendar now. Now I'm going to rewind. I'm going to mention a couple of clubs that will be on the calendar by next week. Central California Kart Racing Association, cckra.com. So Central California Kart Racing Association. Their first event is March 20th and 21st. Their second event, April 17th and 18th. Both of those events are at Buttonwillow. March 22nd and 23rd, they have a Fresno Fairgrounds date. However, right now, looking at their webpage, it is tentative. I imagine because it's at a county fairground, they're just waiting for permission to host an event. However, June 26th, 27th, Santa Maria. August 7th and 8th, Santa Maria. September 11th and 12th, Fresno Fairgrounds, tentative. And then that's on their website, cckra.com. So that's Central California Kart Racing Association. I will have their calendar live on Norcal Karters by next week. And another track I came across, Bakersfield Kart Raceway. And I actually missed their event in February. So February 13th was their first race. March 6th, which is this weekend, is another race for them. March 27th is a race. April 24th. May 22nd. June 12th. July 10th. August 7th. September 11th. October 16th. November 13th. And December 4th. And that is on the Bakersfield Shootout.com website. So Bakersfield Shootout.com website. And looks like April through October, they're running night races. So that actually might be kind of fun to go down to. Load up the Briggs and go check out the night race. So that might actually be a lot of fun down there. I was down there last year in the 125 shifter. Honestly, it was above my head because I'm old, I'm slow, I'm out of shape. Every excuse you can think of to be in a 125, I ignored it, but I'm still in it. But the track was a lot of fun. But that might be a lot of fun to go down to. And again, that's April through October are all night races. Their calendar will be live next week. And if you want it live right now, BakersfieldShootout.com. And then we have the Shasta Kart Club. They are not live on our site yet. They will be by next week. Shasta Kart Club. I said .com. Let me double check that. It is ShastaKartClub.com. However, Shasta Kart with a K, Club with a K. Shasta Kart Club with a K.com for their current schedule. So February 27th was their first race. March 28th is their next race. April 10th and the 11th says regional race. May 1st and 2nd is a club race. June 6th, club race. June 26th, makeup club race. August and July, or July and August, they don't have anything scheduled. September 18th and the 19th, double club race weekend. And October 30th and 31st, that looks like a special event. They're calling it a Give Back to the Community club race. So I don't know if that's some sort of a fundraiser. I'll try to get someone on from Shasta Kart Club. Or if you're listening and you're a member of Shasta Kart Club, drop me a PM or an email and let's get you on the podcast to explain what that event is. Give Back to the Community, October 30th and 31st. And November 14th is a club race. And those were the new calendars I found this week. So those will be live by next week, or you can just hit rewind and replay this podcast over and over and over again. So my podcast isn't over yet, but those are the events. The new format I'm going to start over the next couple of months and see how it goes. I'm going to run through the events. I'm going to highlight the sponsors, and then I'll come back, and if there were some special points or notes I wanted to talk about, I'm going to do that after I run through everything. So that way you get your 4 to 6 weeks of events up front, And then you can go, I can get tired of this guy's voice, and you end the podcast. That's fine. Now's the time to do that. But if you want some of my perspective from the Challenge of the Americas event in Fontana, is a great event from a racing aspect. It was a shitty event from the standpoint of wind. It was just unrelenting. I don't think I've ever been in wind for 8 hours that just never gave up. And that was for a couple of days. There was, I think it was Thursday, and on Sunday, it just blew. And, I was under the GFC Karting tent this past weekend. I was working with a shifter driver, Connor Wick, and these big races are always long days. It's just, you walk into it, you know they're going to be long days. But when you get a text at 6:30 in the morning and it's a picture of your pit setup, completely yard sailed, demolished, scrap metal, your heart just sinks for a moment. And this is me, just as I'm a fly-in mechanic. I don't have any investment into the team or anything else. I'm a fly-in mechanic. I was down there for half a day on Tuesday, helping Gary and Sonny and the Formula Works guys set up the pits. Pat Beckley was down there early helping to set up. And when I saw that text where the pits were just collapsed and it looked like a yard sale, it looked like someone took a big D8 Caterpillar and just ran through Gary's pit space and piled the tents on top of the carts and said, all right, see you tomorrow. You're just thinking this is going to be one of the longest days that it can be at the track. And so we get to the track. We got there early knowing what we were walking into. And then when you see it live, you almost just kind of are in shock. It's like, well, what do? You pull the plug, you call it quits, you just start scrapping things together and maybe just say, okay, today we're not practicing. I don't know. There's just so many different things that go through your head at that moment. And if you're Gary, you have these thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of investment into a beautiful tent setup that now is just gone. I mean, just crumpled. And it took probably about an hour for things to kind of get gathered. You had to assess the situation. What is the damage? What are we looking at here? But the coolest thing about karting is it's a family. And, some of the competition, the competitors started coming over and talking to Gary or Sonny and saying, hey, we have extra easy ups. We have extra shelter in our pits. If I missed your name, I apologize. I wasn't a part of the actual coordination of resetting up the pit as far as gathering the easy ups. But I know P1. I know he gave Gary some easy ups. Christian Bird Racing, he gave Gary some easy ups. And then Ruthless, Ryan Ruth, he gave Gary some easy ups. And if I'm missing you, I apologize. Again, I wasn't part of that part of it. But, teams started showing up and just dumping off easy ups. And the Challenge of America's crew, they started coming over and help picking stuff up. And, Nicole was over there. She started going through my toolbox because my toolbox was on top of a bench. And it fell off of one of the benches during the windstorm. So tools were just scattered everywhere. And I lost all my I didn't lose all of them. I lost a number of my sweetheart candies, which was very devastating for me. But I'm just thinking, great, this is just going to be a shit show. If there's kids listening, I apologize for my language. But I'm thinking this is just going to be a shit show. And I can see Nicole just kind of piling the tools back into my toolbox and trying to gather the stuff in my area the best she could into our bags or boxes, etc. And the whole pit was out like that. I mean, the tents were just done. There were no tents. It was, can we save anything off the tents? But they were done. It wasn't like, oh, move them back into position and tie them down. It was take down what you can as carefully as possible. We don't know if we have scrap metal or salvage. At the end of the day, we didn't end up using those tents, and we couldn't. Gary loaded them back up, and I'm pretty sure it was Kyle Wick was going through the easy ups, pulling them apart and try to piecing easy ups together. And again, the three teams I just mentioned, P1, Christian Bird Racing, and Ruthless Karting, they came over. They let Gary use the easy ups, and I know Gary really struggled with what the aftermath was, because it was so nice in Phoenix when it was raining and it was windy and we were inside the big tents and everything was sheltered, and you kind of are isolated from the outside environment. So the tents were really nice. And then here we are. I think that was a Thursday. So yeah, there we were on a Thursday out in the open with no tents. It was windy. There was no tents. But I would say by 10 o'clock, everything was redone. The pits were cleaned up. Drivers were getting back on track. And it really didn't affect the environment. Well, there was no tent on that day, but within the confines of GFC and Formula Works, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, this kind of sucks, but it didn't affect anything. Gary didn't give up. His crew didn't give up. None of the drivers gave up. Everyone just kind of said, it is what it is. Let's get this mess cleaned up. Let's pull it together. Let's get on track. And that's exactly what happened. And then the following day, a number of us said, hey, we'll show up to the track early. Let's reset up the easy ups that were loaned to us. Let's get these going. And so the following day, a number of us showed up early, started setting up the easy ups, and it was what it was. And then Gary's team had a really good event. Kyle Wick won on Sunday. Little Julian Sanchez had his first national level podium. So that was good. What else is going on there? I should probably look at the race results, but I wasn't planning on doing a race results recap. But no, good things had happened. It just, outside the tent thing, it was kind of a shitty deal. And Gary actually stayed behind. I talked to him yesterday on my way home. He stayed down in SoCal because he has a very busy month coming up in March. And he was already on it, throughout the weekend. Okay, what do I need to do for Sonoma? What do I need to do for tents? What do I need to do for all the coordination of what's going to happen? What do I have left over for equipment, etc.? So it was just one of my pictures on Norcal Karters on the Facebook page. It was more just for the attention to grab people, but you can kind of see some of the pictures that were posted. There's a picture of Sonny on Travis Irving's shoulders, because Sunday night we were there till, I think, 10:30 at night. We were there till 10:30 at night working, and the wind sucks down there. I don't get it. We were on the chassis table. We took our canopy off, so it's just the shell of the easy up that's left. Just the shell, just the legs and the support. And that thing wanted to take off on Saturday night. It tried to lift off. It's like, are you kidding me? And the only reason we left it up was because it was holding our lights. Otherwise, we would have tore that thing down a long time ago. But it's like, how is a skeleton of an easy up trying to lift off? And it just, Gary's trying to work on a chassis, on the chassis table. It's late at night. It's windy. And then this easy up skeleton tries to take off. There's a couple of pictures floating around out there. David Cole took a few. Ayrton Littell took a few. I posted a few on Norcal Karters. Again, Sonny's on top of Travis's shoulders with a broom trying to take the shades off of these easy ups because the wind was just going to take them. We kind of knew that was going to happen the second time around, but the easy ups were holding all of our lights, and we were there till 10:30 at night working. So the results on Sunday and all the success Gary had throughout the weekend was definitely well worth it, even though the wind sucked. Yeah. So I think that's probably my rant on that end of it. But yeah, if you have some pictures from that event, post it on Norcal Karters on the Facebook page. And if I missed you, reach out to me. Because a lot of times I have the benefit, like, again, I was under the GFC tent. I was working with Connor Wick. So I'm watching the shifter stuff. So a lot of times I highlight the shifter stuff because I'm watching it. Last year I was working with Christian Cameron, and he was running the mini Rok and then also the 100cc class. So I highlighted that a lot last year because I was working with a driver on the track in a specific class. So if I'm missing stuff about your team or I'm missing stuff about the event, reach out to me. Because a lot of times I'm just super focused on what's right in front of me. And that the intention isn't to miss people or anything else. That's just what happens. These are really, really busy weekends. I am working on a program for 2021 for the events that I'm not working out. If you want some extra coverage, just in general, whether it's on Norcal Karters or on a podcast or even your own social media pages, I'm available for hire to come out. If it's a club race, let me know. Again, bring some different perspective or different insight to what you're doing out there at the kart track. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it can be anything from, hey, we have the best barbecue in the pits. Come check it out. Or, we have the best data monitor out there. Come check it out. And again, reach out to me. I have packages available if you want to hire me for a day or a weekend to come out and just show insight to your program. Again, market it to the Norcal Karters out there. And once it's on the internet, it's out there forever. So it's fantastic. Let's see. I know I rambled. I got stuck on the Gary thing because of the wind. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned it sucked. So I apologize about that. But that's it. I think I'm going to cut it short. Short for me, at least. So, norcalkarters.com. Go check it out. If you go on the calendars and you're wondering why some events have links directly to their pages and some don't, the ones with links or descriptions, they're sponsors of Norcal Karters. And from a karting marketing standpoint, it's one of the best values you're going to find out there. If you're a business owner, even unrelated to karting, and you're a particular club member and you want to see your club get more attention and plug your business to racers at the same time, reach out to me. We can do a combo deal. So there's a lot of options available. Or if you just want to do a small donation to help keep this project alive, we have a couple different PayPal links. You could, PayPal.me/Norcal Karters. And any donations, the funds go directly back into the Norcal Karters project, into the websites, into the tools, into upgrading equipment, into expanding coverage as we see fit down the road. There's so many different possibilities with Norcal Karters. The whole idea is about 5 years ago, I was running my mouth that there's not enough being done to promote the local clubs. There's not enough being done to promote that recreational kart racer. I had a bunch of there's just not enough being done. And then when I sat back and looked at it, at the time I was working for SwedeTech Racing, and I just realized that, you know what? It's not that people don't want to promote their business or promote their race series or promote their track. They don't have the time. They just most of the shops that I know, they're flat out. They're just flat out all the time, and they're understaffed. And it's such a tough business to try to hire employees because the added expense of more employees, it just exponentially increases how much you got to bring in. And, a lot of these shops are just, I don't want to say hanging on because I don't want to make it sound financial, but just barely hanging on to the daily tasks of just getting the jobs done, getting the chassis built, getting the engines prepped, getting ready for the next race. That, they don't really have time to promote to that local guy. And that local rec guy, he might not ever show up for a race weekend. So that local rec guy doesn't even know these shops exist. Yeah. So I had a bunch of whatabouts, do this, do that. And it's like, you know what? I can do that. I'll do it in my spare time. So that's Norcal Karters. And I have a whole notebook of stuff I'm expanding on for the website itself. I started doing more and more videos last year. Very, very basic videos of how-to videos are on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, Norcal Karters. But a lot of basic videos. And I'm going to expand that until I have kid karts, cadet karts, shifter karts, tag karts, everything covered. Again, very basic stuff. So that way, if you're the new guy and you're going to the track and you don't know how to do your alignment, I'll have a video. These are the tools. This is how you do it. And there's a number of good resources out there on YouTube already. And honestly, I'm just going to come in with my own style. That's it. But there is information out there if you start looking. But my plan is to take you from, the spindle bolt safety clip all the way to the engine circlip, all the way through and having basic videos on all of that for all the different classes that are popular in NorCal. So thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy what I'm doing, share the podcast. Go to Spreaker.com or go to NorcalKarters.com. Click on the podcast link, subscribe. You'll be notified when I go live. You'll be notified when I post content. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try this new format out of just blasting through the events, highlighting the sponsors, highlighting the supporters of the Norcal Karters with their websites or their events, etc. And I think what I'll do is I'll add in another podcast midweek on fluff, the stuff that I typically want to ramble about, and kind of separate that out and see how that format goes for a while. So if you have any suggestions, comment on either my podcast page or on YouTube on the podcast thing. A couple weeks ago, I had someone comment that the audio sucked. I don't think that was exact words, but I went back and I listened. It's like, oh yeah, the audio sucks. And he wasn't talking about my nasally voice. It really sucked. And I sat there for about an hour trying to figure everything out. And it's like, what's going on? Why is this sound like I'm in the bathroom doing a podcast? And turns out I have a video camera. Well, for some reason, the video camera microphone is the one that was picking up the podcast, not my podcast microphone. So went in, adjusted some settings. That once I figured that out, it's like, oh, that's an easy fix, but couldn't understand why I sounded like I was talking in a bathroom. And if you're wondering what kind of bathroom it sounded like I was in a truck stop bathroom with all metal walls, and it just echoed and pinged. So for those that were curious, that's what it sounded like. So everyone, have a great night. Thanks for listening.